Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie is reportedly on indefinite hold. And this comes from Daniel RPK. Thoughts on
I
this?
I
I
guess
think
they saw Thor 4.
I was going to say, aren't literally isn't like every single one of those Star Wars movies they announced a couple of years ago on hold?
Or being shuffled around. One or the
Yeah,
other.
well, okay, on hold.
because this was announced during the like Patty Jenkins roster, right?
And the trilogy for what's his name, Ryan Johnson, and was it the Kevin Feige one as well? It was the Kevin Feige
Yeah.
produced Star Wars, and they're all like just on hold. But
Yeah.
on hold.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel a little bit bad for Taika because I do think he's a good director. Like, I feel like he made one bad movie and everyone's like, "Oh, this guy sucks now." It's like, well, he has a whole.
It
film
reminds me of
catalog.
the M. Night Shyamalan stuff, like when he
Yeah.
made that one mistake in a film, and then everything after that, they're
He
like,
needs-
"Oh, he sucks. He's awful."
He needs to go back to his standard comedy because he keeps trying to make comedic movies to appeal to Americans. So he got a New Zealander trying to make, and he's trying to like balance the two, but they're different types of like. Because I've always said Thor Ragnarok is mostly Australian, New Zealand, British humor. Like that movie
Yes.
is mostly that type of humor with a bit of American stuff sprinkled in there. But there's things in there that only Australian people understand, or only New Zealand people understand, or only like Commonwealth people want to extend like certain things that are said. Americans probably won't get it, or they won't find it as
I just don't
funny.
understand how he went from making the best Thor movie to the worst Thor movie, because I actually dislike it more than the second Thor movie, to be honest.
I think he just had more control in Thor 4. I think Kevin Feige was very busy with everything in Phase 4 and 5. They're like, yeah, you made a good Thor 3, just kind of do that again.
So he
I won't-
tricked them.
Yeah,
They
I-
were
There was
like,
also there was no ending. You know what I mean? Like he had to end the movie with it setting up Infinity War.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with Thor: Love and Thunder, like the ending is there's no real ending. It's just like who knows, like that could be the end of Thor as a character, or there's a movie that picks up right where we left off. Like
Yeah.
there's no, you don't really know what's going on after it or where it
I
was
also-
leading to.
Like, I also think Thor 4 would be better if it wasn't, like, an established thing. Like, if Thor 4 was, like, an original movie by itself, not on, an already established universe that already has its own tone, I think it would have been better. Look at movies like Jojo Rabbit and stuff like that. Like, a masterpiece. I think that movie's amazing. With Jojo
but
Rabbit...
he also. You're saying,
sorry.
what were you going to say about Jojo Rabbit?
Yeah, I was
No,
just going to say, like, if Jojo Rabbit was in the MCU, wouldn't work, right? Because
No.
that's a completely different tone.
Well,
than
this is where it
everything
comes down to. One of the complaints about the MCU is they want directors to have their vision imprinted on each individual project. And I think what we've seen with Phase 4 in particular and some of those adjacent things is that doesn't work. And people don't really want that. They say they do, but they don't. Look what happened with Chloe Zhao and the Eternals. Look what happened with him. Look what happened. Yeah, She-Hulk. Sam Raimi to some degree with Multiverse of Madness. I know some people complain about that as well. They just don't want to see individual visions. They want to complain that they don't want McDonald's, but then they actually do want McDonald's because that's what they want to go back to is Phase 1 and Phase 2 when the movies were less creative and more structured around the MCU formula, as they would call it. And so I actually think that's what Marvel is heading back towards. When we watch the Thunderbolts trailer, I'm going to talk about that a bit as well, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I do think that it does show that people asking for Marvel to do more creative stuff, that's not truly what they want. It's not really what they want.
I think they want the illusion that it's different, but they want the same formula. Like, look at Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi, I don't think is crazy different than anything in Phase 1, 2, or 3. It has the same general formula, but it had fantastic action. So like, oh, this is new, this is fresh, this is original. People ate it up, and I think that's kind of what they want more of. Deadpool 3, similar concept, like very similar template to a lot of other MCU movies, but it's with Deadpool and it's rated R this time, so it's new, it's fresh, it's different, but it's really not that different. So I think they want the illusion of new, not necessarily new.
It's funny you say that because I was going to say that Star Wars' issue is they have their Kevin Feige, right? But he just doesn't have the backbone. That's what
Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. He just doesn't have a backbone in his vision or what they're trying to do, and just keeps flip flopping all over the place. And
Well, I think it's also like
board.
Dave Filoni got caught up like in the Disney Plus stuff, so he has to like he doesn't get the time. Like Kevin Feige got time to like there's 4 years between Iron Man and the first Avengers, which in hindsight is a small movie when you think about it. In hindsight, to like, or in comparison to what they do today.
Yeah.
But like with Star Wars, we're like, oh no, you need to do that in like the space of a year and a half. And by the way, like,
Yeah.
like,
well, the other
like
thing
pressure.
with Taika that's sort of unfortunate is he just lost his show, Our Flag Means Death, which I thought was an amazing show.
Yeah.
And Time Bandits got canceled.
And Time Bandits got canceled after one season. So there's this downward trend for him. And I actually like him. I think he's a really creative person. And I like some of his artistic direction with his movies and TV shows. I just feel like right now he's stuck in a weird spot where Star Wars is struggling because of the fandom right now. And he is one of those like offshoot directors that they're just like, we can't take a risk with this because we want to go back to what we were doing before, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, if I like, he needs to just get out of the franchise stuff because he's too creative of a person to be in the franchise stuff. Like, no
go
offense
back to
to anyone
Jojo
that,
Rabbit.
like,
Jojo
no,
Rabbit
it's no offense to anyone that makes the franchise stuff, but they get you because you're very, like, you're more of like, you fall in line and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, but if you've seen any of Taika Waititi's movies before he got into Marvel and stuff, like, they're very, it's almost like Wes Anderson. Like, if you watch a Wes Anderson, like, you wouldn't get Wes Anderson to direct a Marvel movie. Like, what the fuck? Just go watch Fantastic Mr. Fox.
But the other thing is, Taika's not afraid to bring characters on screen that, you know, get sort of trashed on social media. Like, we're talking about like representation that is done in a way that isn't just like, oh, we're gonna talk about it on the red carpet, we're gonna mention it in interviews. He goes all in on it. If you ever seen Our Flag Means Death, like, he goes all in on like actual fleshed out characters from different diverse backgrounds and puts them in as major portions of the story. So you can never accuse him of just tokenizing something or trying to make money off of it. He's very much committed to that stuff. And that's not something we see very often. So I'm glad that he has that in him. I think, Paige, you kind of nailed it there when you said he needs to get out of the franchise stuff. I think that's ultimately what's probably best for him. So,
or stuff that's more independent within the franchise. Like, I think maybe what James Gunn is doing over at DC, he could fit in, where he seems like those movies seem to be more independent in their
or an
thing.
Elseworlds movie. They could do an Elseworlds movie.
Perfect.
You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, let's see what we got next on the list.